Welcome to Israel's Church of the Living God. I'm Brother Rodney, and Brother Gerald will be reading today. We'll be doing a lesson entitled Faithful Women, Daughters of the Church. Faithful Women and Daughters of the Church, because we don't often hear that much about the women in the Bible. But there are a lot of faithful, heroic, heroine women in the Bible. And so we're just going to read some things about women in the Bible today and show you that, you know, the Lord also worked with women. Mm-hmm. And He also used women to do His bidding. So we're going to start this off, though. We're going to start off because I want everybody to know, understand this. Because, you know, I think they got it next week or something, a week after, Mother's Day or something like that. Well, we don't necessarily celebrate Mother's Day. We don't have nothing really against Mother's Day. If that's what you want to do, then that's what you do. Well, we don't celebrate Mother's Day because we don't read it in the Bible. But we do want you to understand this, though. Exodus 20, and we're going to read one verse, verse 12. Exodus 20 and 12. Exodus 20 and 12. Go ahead and read it.
Honor thy father and thy mother, that thy days may be long upon the land which the Lord thy God giveth thee.
So now, this don't come with no days or weeks or months and all that. You know, you're supposed to honor your mother and your father every day.
Right.
Every day, not just one day out of the year.
That's right.
But if that's what you want to do, I mean, you know, we don't have nothing against that. That's what you want to do. But we just said that this Lord told you to honor your mother and your father long before you had this Mother's Day thing.
Right.
Amen.
So we don't, like I said, we don't have nothing against Mother's Day or, you got your mic on? We don't have nothing against Mother's Day or none of that, but we want to honor our mothers and our fathers every day of the year.
Right, man.
You got your mic on?
Mic, yeah.
Okay. All right. So now, I just want everybody to know that before we really get started in this lesson. Let's go now. Let's go to Hebrews, the 11th chapter. Hebrews 11. We're going to pick it up in Hebrews 11 and verse 1. Let's start off with that verse 1. Hebrews 11, we're going to start off with that verse 1.
Okay.
Can I get a little bit of cold water? Just a little bit of cold.
Yes.
Hebrews 11 and 1. That's all right. Go ahead. That's yours. That's froze. Go ahead and read.
Now faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen.
The faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. Skip down to verse 6. Go ahead.
But without faith it is impossible to please him. For he that cometh to God must believe that he is, and that he is a rewarder of them that diligently seek him.
So he said, without faith it is impossible to please him. Thanks, brother. It is impossible to please him without faith. This goes for the man and the woman.
Right.
Skip down to verse 8, because we come in for the woman today. We're going to start off with Abraham, because he's like the father of faith, but look at his wife too, though. Skip down to verse 8.
By faith, Abraham, when he was called to go out into a place which he should after receive for an inheritance, obeyed. And he went out, not knowing whither he went.
But skip down to verse 11.
Through faith also Sarah herself.
Now this Abraham's wife. He said through faith Sarah, through faith also Sarah. This Abraham's wife right here. Go ahead and read.
Sarah herself received strength to conceive seed. And was delivered of a child when she was past age.
Go ahead.
Because she judged him faithfully who had promised.
Now, she received it through faith. You know, she received a child past age. And like Sarah was like 90 years old when she had Isaac. But she had faith in God. Skip down to verse 30. Skip down to verse 30. Because we're dealing with the women today.
Amen.
Verse 30. Go ahead and read.
By faith the walls of Jericho fell down. After they were compassed about 7 days.
Go ahead.
By faith the Herod Rahab perished not with them that believed not. For she had received the spies with peace.
Now, so it said by faith Rahab perished not with them that believed not, when she had received the spies with peace. Now we're going to deal with Rahab the harlot in a minute. Well, skip down to verse 35. Go ahead. Look like it's getting a little warm down here tonight. Today, don't it?
Amen.
I haven't even got started yet. Verse 35. I think we're going to have to open this door down here, this window down here.
I got it.
Tyrone get it. Yeah, go ahead and open that window right there because it's getting a little warm down here. Hebrews 11, pick it up at 35. Go ahead.
Women received their dead raised to life again. And others were tortured, not accepting deliverance, that they might obtain a better resurrection.
So it said that women received their dead raised to life again. Then it said, and others were tortured, not accepting deliverance, that they might be obtained a better resurrection. Now, let's go now, because we're going to look at Sarah. We're going to look at Abraham first, then we're going to look at Sarah. Because not only was Abraham a father of many nations, but Sarah was a mother of many nations. So let's go back. Let's go take a look at this. Then we're going to show you later on in this lesson, one of the greatest people to ever live. And that one of those greatest people to ever live was a woman.
Amen.
And not only was she prophesied of in the New Testament, she was also prophesied about in the prophets, all the way back in Genesis. But we're gonna get to her in a minute. We're going to Genesis 17 and 3. Genesis 17 and 3. Yeah, so we're gonna like honor our women today. Genesis 17, and we're gonna pick it up at verse 3, because we often hear about men and their heroism and all that stuff, but we rarely hear about women.
Right.
So now we're picking it up at Genesis 17 and 3. Genesis 17 and 3. Go ahead and read it.
And Abram fell on his face, and God talked with him, saying, As for me, behold, my covenant is with thee, and thou shalt be a father of many nations.
And thou shalt be a father of many nations. Go ahead.
Neither shall thy name any more be called Abram, but thy name shall be Abraham. For a father of many nations have I made thee. And I will make thee exceeding fruitful, and I will make nations of thee, and kings shall come out of thee.
He said, I'm going to make nations of thee, and kings going to come out of thee. Now, let's deal with Sarah for a minute here. Let's go to, skip down to verse 15. Skip down to verse 15, and go ahead and read.
And God said unto Abraham, As for Sarah, thy wife, thou shalt not call her name Sarah, but Sarah.
Sarai.
Be.
Go ahead.
And I will bless her, and give thee a son also of her. Yea.
Now she was past age, but now he getting ready to give, the Lord getting ready to give her a son. This is really something, ain't it? And this son was the son of the promise that God had made to Abraham, and then he made this promise to Isaac, then to Jacob, then the children of Israel. But he gave her this son when she was of an old age. I think she was like 90 years old when she had Isaac. Now you don't see stuff like that no more, do you?
Right, no.
This was the hand of God. But go ahead and read. What verse you at?
Verse 16. And I will bless her, and give thee a son also of her. Yea, I will bless her, and she shall be a mother of nations.
Hold it. Then he told Abraham the same thing. You're going to be a father of nations, didn't he?
Amen.
Now he telling Sarah, you're going to be a mother of nations, because he could have just very well took Keturah, Abraham's other wife, and had Isaac, and then had those children of, made her a mother of many nations, rather. But he chose to use Sarah, which was a old woman, to have Isaac, to have Jacob and Esau, to have the 12 tribes of Israel.
Amen.
Read that verse 16 again.
And I will bless her, and give thee a son also of her.
Uh-huh.
Yea, I will bless her, and she shall be a mother of nations.
Uh-huh.
Kings of people shall be of her.
Kings of people shall be of her. Read that verse 17.
Then Abraham fell upon his face and laughed,
Uh-huh.
and said in his heart, shall a child be born unto him that is 100 years old?
Uh-huh.
And shall Sarah that is 90 years old bear?
But she did, didn't she?
Yes.
Abraham didn't believe it at first. He laughing now. You understand? Till them angels came to him. And the Lord came to him. But anyway, let's go now. Let's go to 1 Peter, the 3rd chapter. 1 Peter 3. We're going to 1 Peter, the 3rd chapter, and we're going to pick it up. We're going to read one verse right here, verse 6. 1 Peter 3, and we're going to pick it up at verse 6. 1 Peter 3 and 6. 1 Peter 3 and 6. Go ahead and read that.
Even as Sarah obeyed Abraham, calling him Lord,
Calling him Lord, go ahead.
whose daughters ye are,
Whose daughters you are. If you do what?
as long as ye do well, and are not afraid with any amazement.
And as long as you do well and are not afraid with any amazement, you are the daughters of Abraham too. You are the daughters of Abraham. But you see what Sarah called Abraham Lord, right?
Yeah.
I'm going to leave that alone. Let's go now. Let's go now, because Rahab the harlot, the Bible mentioned her. Now this woman, she wasn't an Israelite, but she got mentioned in the Bible. Not only under the Old New Testament, in the Old Testament, she got mentioned in the Bible. She was a woman of faith. She was a woman of faith. She wasn't even of the daughters of Israel. Let's go to Joshua, the 2nd chapter. Joshua 2. Let's go back to Joshua, the 2nd chapter, and we're going to pick it up at verse 1. Let's see what she did. Joshua 2 and 1. Joshua 2 and 1. Go ahead and read that.
And Joshua the son of Nun sent out of Shittim 2 men to spy secretly, saying, go view the land, even Jericho. And they went, and came into a Herod's house.
A harlot's house. Now, this
house.
Rahab, she was a harlot. Everybody know what a harlot is.
Right.
Okay, she was a prostitute.
Right.
Now, you know, you never know who the Lord going to use.
That's right.
You understand? You never know who the Lord is going to use. Now, he getting ready to use a harlot right here to knock down the walls of Jericho, to defeat Jericho and knock down the walls of Jericho. Go ahead and read.
Named Rahab.
Read that over.
And launched there.
Read verse 1 again.
And Joshua the son of Nun sent out of Shittim 2 men to spy secretly, saying, go view the land, even Jericho. And they went and came into a Herod's house.
A harlot's house.
Harlot's house. Named Rahab, and lodged there.
And lodged there. Go ahead. So now these 2 spies, they came to her house and they lodged her. Other words, she let them come and stay at her house. Go ahead and read.
And it was told the king of Jericho, saying, behold, there came men in hither tonight of the children of Israel to search out the country.
Now they knew this. They knew this was the 2 men that came out to search out the country. They also knew where they went to. Go ahead and read.
And the king of Jericho sent unto Rahab, saying, bring forth the men that are come to thee, which are entered into thine house, for they to come to search out all the country.
See, so they knew it. And they came and told, look, bring those 2 men out your house, girl. So So she played dumb on him. She played dumb on him. Go ahead and this the king doesn't sit to her house now. So she played dumb on him. Go ahead and read.
And the woman took the 2 men and hid them. And said thus, there came men unto me, but I wist not whence they were.
She said, yeah, 2 men came to me, but I don't know where they went. But she hid them first though. Right. Go ahead and read.
And it came to pass about the time of shutting of the gate, when it was dark, that the men went out. Whither the men went, I wot not. Pursue after them quickly, for ye shall overtake them.
She said, go ahead. Look, I let them go. Look, go ahead or chase them. Maybe y'all catch them. Right. But she hid them though. Go ahead and read.
But she had brought them up to the roof of the house, and hid them with the stalks of flax, which she had laid in order upon the roof.
Now, just for this very act right here, the Lord had her and her house saved. Just for this act right here. Let's go to Joshua, the 6th chapter. Joshua 6. Joshua 6, and we're going to pick it up at verse 16. Joshua 6 and 16. Go ahead and read.
And it came to pass that the 7th time, when the priest blew with the trumpets, Joshua said unto the people, shout, for the Lord hath given you the city. And the city shall be accursed, even it, and even that are therein.
And all that are in,
And all that are therein to the Lord, only Rahab the harlot shall live.
Ooh, you see that? Only Rahab, everybody gonna get killed, all except Rahab and the harlot. Right. Just for her act that she done by hiding those 2 spies of the Lord. Go ahead and finish that.
She and all that are with her in the house.
She done saved her whole household. Go ahead and read.
She and all that are with her in the house, because she hid the messengers that we sent.
Now this is a message from God now. Don't touch her and her family. Y'all kill everybody else, but don't touch her and her family. That is really something, ain't it? The Lord done sent you a message saying, look, we want to get everybody. But he said, nope, don't touch her and her family. Bring them out. Then you go and kill everybody. Verse 18, go ahead.
And ye, in any wise, keep yourselves from the accursed thing, lest ye make yourselves accursed. When ye take of the accursed thing, and make the camp of Israel a curse, and trouble it.
Skip down to verse 20, go ahead.
So the people shouted when the priest blew with the trumpets. And it came to pass, when the people heard the sound of the trumpet, and the people shouted with a great shout, that the wall fell down flat, so that the people went up into the city, every man straight before him, and they took the city.
Now, let's go to James, the 2nd chapter. James, the 2nd chapter, and we're gonna pick it up at verse 24. James 2 and 24. James 2 and 24. Go ahead and read it.
Ye see then how that by works a man is justified, and not by faith only.
Oh, you see they say, you see then how that a man is, you see then how that by works a man is justified, and not by faith only. Verse 25.
Likewise, also was not Rahab the harlot justified by works?
See, she was justified. She was cleared of guilt by her works. She showed her faith by her works. How did she show her faith by her works? She feared God, and she had faith in those men that came to her. Faith in God, those men came to her. She hid those men on that roof, didn't she? Right. She was justified by her works. Go ahead and read.
When she had received the messengers and had sent them out another way.
Now, so she was Rahab the harlot was justified by her work. She showed her faith by her work, didn't she? Yeah. Let's go now. Let's go to and then not only that, by her doing that simple act, her name is mentioned in the Bible several times. You understand? What an honor. Let's go to Matthew the 9th chapter. Matthew the 9th chapter. Matthew 9, and she was a harlot though. And she mentioned in the Bible. That tells you, boy, God can use anybody he wants to when he chooses to, can't he?
Right. Yeah.
Matthew 9, and we're going to pick it up at verse 18. Matthew 9 and 18. Will you get it? Will you get it? Go ahead and read. Go ahead.
While he spake these things unto them,
Uh-huh.
behold, there came a certain ruler and worshipped him, saying, My daughter is even now dead, but come and lay thy hand upon her, and she shall live.
Go ahead.
And Jesus arose and followed him, and so did his disciples. And behold, a woman, which was deceased with an issue of blood 12 years, came behind him and touched them of his garment.
And touched the hem of his garment. Now look how much faith she had. You understand? She didn't, just go run up to Jesus and grab him and save me or help me with this issue. And she just said, you know what? If I could just touch the hem of his garment, I'll be healed. This is faith, ain't it?
Right.
Go ahead and read.
For she said within
Now you don't see no men doing this in the Bible. You don't see them running up to him, touching the hem of his garment, like you see women. Women get all emotional and everything, and they just, I'm just gonna touch the hem of his garment. But it worked for her, didn't it?
Right.
Go ahead and read.
For she said within herself,
If
I may but touch his garment, I shall be whole.
I shall be whole. Now that is faith, ain't it? She said, if I just touch his garment, I shall be whole. Go ahead and read.
But Jesus turned him about, and when he saw her, he said, Daughter, be of good comfort. Thy faith hath made thee whole.
He said, be of good comfort. Thy faith hath made thee whole. And that's how it is in the Bible. These women's faith make them whole. And that's how it is for you.
Yeah.
Your faith is going to make you whole, woman.
Amen.
And the man too. But we just dealing with the woman today. So, your faith is what's going to make you whole. Go ahead and read.
And the woman was made whole from that hour.
And that woman was made whole from that very hour. Whatever your ailments are, call upon the Lord, have faith in the Lord, and he's going to make you whole. He will make you whole. Let's go to Jeremiah, the 9th chapter. Jeremiah 9. Jeremiah 9, and we're going to pick it up at verse 17. Because, there was a thing in Israel where they had wailing women. Women that would mourn. And not mourn for the dead or mourn. This was a practice of theirs. They would mourn. Not only that, they had to teach, they taught their daughters to go and mourn. So this was a practice in Israel by the women. We're at Jeremiah, the 9th chapter. We're going to pick up at verse 17. Jeremiah 9 and 17. Go ahead and read.
Thus saith the Lord of hosts, Consider ye, and call for the mourning woman.
And call for the mourning women. Because some women, that was their practice, mourning. Just like you had some of the women's practice were delivering babies in Israel. So these women, these were called mourning women. Go ahead and read.
That they may come and send for a cunning woman.
Go ahead.
That they may come.
And he said, send for cunning women that they may come. Go ahead and read.
And let them make haste.
Wise woman, in other words. Go ahead and read.
And let them make haste and take up a wailing for us.
And let them make haste and take up a wailing for us. Go ahead and read.
That our eyes may run down with tears, and our eyelids gush out with waters. So
in other words, this is a sad time. So we're going to bring the women in, the wailing women in, and then we all going to cry together. This was a practice of the women. Go ahead and read.
For a voice of wailing is heard out of Zion. How are we spoiled? We are greatly confounded.
Go ahead.
Because we have forsaken the land.
Uh-huh.
Because our dwellings have cast us out.
Go ahead.
Yet, hear the word of the Lord, O ye women, and let your ear receive the word of his mouth, and teach your daughters wailing.
And teach your daughters wailing. This was a practice of the women.
Okay.
To be wailing women. Not only that, you go teach your daughters to wail. Finish that.
And everyone her neighbor lamentation.
And everyone her neighbor lamentation. That's mourning and stuff, you know. So this was a practice of the women in Israel, to be wailers or mourners. Let's go now. Let's go to Esther, the 5th chapter, because I just want to show you some women, some heroism of some of the women in Israel in the Bible. We're going to Esther, the 5th chapter. Esther, the 5th chapter. And we're going to pick it up at verse 1. Esther. We're going to Esther, the 5th chapter, and verse 1. When you get it, go ahead and read it.
Now it came to pass on the 3rd day that Esther put on her royal apparel, and stood in the inner court of the king's house.
Because, you know, we're just going to cut through the chase. I'm just going to tell you a little bit of the story. Esther, she was a queen in Israel. Right? This king, he got rid of his wife. Her name was Shate. I think that was, I can't remember her name, but anyway, he got rid of his wife, and so he ain't going to get him a new wife. So he went among the harem. Some of the harem were Jewish women. So Esther was so beautiful, so he took her for his wife and made her queen. Then he set up this guy, Haman, who was going to destroy her cousin along with the rest of the Jews. So now Esther is the one who saved not only her cousin Mordecai, but she saved the rest of the Jews too, because Haman was going to destroy Mordecai and the rest of the Jews. The king didn't know about this. Mordecai knew about this, and then he told Esther. So Esther going in, she going to petition the king about this. She going to save the king. Even if it costs her her life, she said, I'm going to save Mordecai and the people. So go ahead and read now. Now she was a queen in Israel. Go ahead.
Now it came to pass on the 3rd day that Esther put on her royal apparel.
A royal apparel. Go ahead and read.
And stood in the inner court of the king's house.
Now this is a foreign king now. He wasn't a king in Israel. This is a foreign king. But he loved Esther, so I don't care if she is Jewish, she's going to be my queen. She must have really looked good, boy. But anyway, go ahead and read.
Over against the king's house. And the king sat upon his royal throne in the royal house, over against the gate of the house. And it was so, when the king saw Esther the queen standing in the court, that she obtained favor in his sight. And the king held out to Esther the golden scepter that was in his hand. So Esther drew near and touched the top of the scepter.
The scepter. Go ahead.
Then said the king unto her, What wilt thou, Queen Esther?
So he said, what wilt thou, Queen Esther? What's wrong? You know, what you want? Go ahead and read. Because that's how they would do. You know, they would stand in the king's court, and then the king, if he see him or whatever, then he put out his staff, his golden staff, and then, okay, that means come on. But you couldn't go nowhere until you see him stick out his staff, though. Go ahead and read. His scepter. Go ahead and read.
And what is thy request? It shall be even given thee to the half of the kingdom.
See, he said, what is your request? I'll give you half the kingdom. Go ahead and read. He must have really loved that. But this is the Lord showing favor to his people. He did it through a woman, though. Go ahead and read.
And Esther
just like you got a Jew in the White House now, and her husband is a Hamite. Maybe okay, I'm going to leave that alone. That's too deep. Go ahead and read.
And Esther answered, If it seem good unto the king, let the king and Haman come this day unto the banquet that I have prepared for thee.
Go ahead.
Then the king said, cause Haman to make haste.
Cause Haman to make haste.
Cause Haman to make haste, that he may do as Esther have said. So the king and Haman came to the banquet that Esther had prepared.
Go ahead.
And the king said unto Esther at the banquet of wine, that is thy petition.
What?
And this shall
What is
be,
thy petition?
What is thy petition?
And
it shall be granted thee.
Go ahead.
And what is thy request? Even to the half of the kingdom it shall be performed. Then answered Esther and said, my petition and my request is, if I have found favor in the sight of the king, and if it please the king to grant my petition and to perform my request, let the king and Haman come to the banquet that I shall prepare for them. And I will do tomorrow as the king hath said.
Go ahead.
Then went Haman forth that day joyful and with a glad heart. But when Haman saw Mordecai in the king's gate, that he stood up not, nor moved for him.
See, so because Haman, you know, he like third in command. So look, when you see me come, you supposed to stand up. But Mordecai, like, he knew what time it was with him. Mordecai ain't standing up nothing. He a Jew. This is Esther's cousin that raised her. So he like, I ain't standing up nothing. So Haman, seeing that Mordecai didn't honor him, so you know I'm gonna do something about Mordecai because he should have honored me. I don't care if that is Queen Esther's cousin.
Right.
Go ahead and read.
He was full of indignation against Mordecai. Nevertheless, Haman refrained himself, and when he came home, he sent and called for his friends and Zeresh, his wife.
So now he called for Zeresh, his friends, and his wife. Skip down to verse 14. What did he do? Then what she do?
Then said Zeresh, his wife, and all his friends unto him, let a gallows be made of 50 cubits high.
Let a gallows be made 50 cubits high. Now he gonna do it. I'm gonna kill Mordecai.
Right.
Cause he didn't honor me. He told his wife and then he go his wife like, then Zeresh, his wife and all his friends unto him, let a gallows be made of 50 cubits high. Now he gonna kill the guy. Y'all, everybody know what gallows are, right?
Right.
Go ahead and read.
And tomorrow speak thou unto the king that Mordecai may be hanged thereon.
See, that Mordecai might be hanged thereon. But what, Mordecai didn't do nothing? He just didn't honor this guy because he knew this guy, Haman, was a wicked guy. So he didn't stand up for him. But go ahead and read. But does a guy deserve to die? I mean, you know, it wasn't like he was a king. You know what I'm saying? He didn't have no royal scepter to put out there. Okay, Mordecai, you know, stand up when I come by or something. So he gonna hang the guy. He gonna hang Mordecai. Go ahead and read.
Then go thou in merrily with the king unto the banquet. And the thing pleased Haman, and he caused the gallows to be made.
See, so he displeased his wife. She conspired, made the gallows and everything. Okay, that's cool. We're going to do this. But the Lord had another plan. They had one plan. The Lord had another plan. Let's go into Esther, the 7th chapter, and we're going to pick it up at verse 1. Esther 7 and 1. Go ahead and read.
So the king and Haman came to banquet with Esther the queen. And the king said again unto Esther on the 2nd day at the banquet of wine, what is thy petition? Queen Esther, and it shall be granted thee. And what is thy request? And it shall be performed, even to the half of the kingdom.
Go ahead.
Then Esther the queen answered and said, if I have found favor in thy sight, O king, and if it please the king, let my life be given me at my petition, and my people at my request.
See, so she said, well, that's my petition. Let my life be given me and the life of my people at my request. And he's like, what? What are you talking about? King don't even know what's going on. Verse 4, go ahead.
For we are sold, I and my people to be destroyed, to be slain, and to perish. But if we have been sold for bondmen and bondwomen, I had held my tongue, although the enemy could not countervail the king's damage. Then the king Ahasuerus answered and said unto Esther the queen, Who is he?
Who is this? Who is he that's doing this? You know, who conspired to do this? He don't even know what's going on in his own kingdom. He's like, well, and it's being done right up under his nose. And he's like, well, who is this? Who's the man that's doing this? Go ahead and read.
And where is he? That pursues in his heart to do this.
They said, who is this? But where is he that does pursue in his heart to do this? Go ahead and read.
And Esther said, the adversary and enemy is this wicked Haman.
Ooh, see, Mordecai knew this too. Mordecai knew this. This adversary is this wicked man Haman. Go ahead and read.
Then Haman was afraid before the king and the queen.
I know he was, because you know everybody understood that the king loved Queen Esther. And you know, she told him, look, yeah, what's your request? I'll give you up to the half of the kingdom, girl.
Right.
You know? So he like, hey, Haman's scared now. he know he done got found out. He's scared now. But go ahead and read.
And the king, arising from the banquet of wine in his wrath, went into the palace garden. And Haman stood up to make request for his life. For his life.
He ain't even, king ain't even saying nothing to him yet. King just stood up in fury. Haman stood up. Oh, wait a minute, king. Begging for his life.
Right.
Too late now. Go ahead and read.
Haman stood up to make request for his life to Esther the queen.
To Esther the queen. Go ahead and read.
For he saw that there was evil determined against him by the king.
Go ahead.
Then the king returned out of the palace garden into the place of the banquet of wine. And Haman was falling upon the bed whereon Esther was.
Now he begging her now, ain't he? Look at this. He begging the Jewish woman. He gonna kill her cousin and kill the rest of the Jews. The Lord got him on his knees begging this woman for his life. An Israelite woman.
Yep.
She could have said, well, okay, Haman, all right, since you apologize, all right, we're going to leave this alone then. Go and say 100 times, I'm sorry to Queen Esther or something. You could have did anything like that. But Esther was like, She laid on her bed. She ain't say nothing to her. Go ahead and read. What verse she at?
Verse 8.
Go ahead.
Then said the king, will he force the queen also before me?
He say, you gonna try to force? You gonna try to lay with her before me? You gonna force her before me? King, he done went out. You know, this guy begging for his life. He done thought something else. Right. He done went left field somewhere. He wasn't thinking about laying with her. He was thinking about he begging her for his life.
Right.
Go ahead and read though.
As the word went out of the king's mouth, they covered Haman's face.
He done, ain't he? He is done. Go ahead.
And Harbonah, one of the chamberlains, said before the king, behold, also the gallows 50 cubits high.
Now you know they got these gallows now, because they built them around Haman's house, right? But they went and searched Haman's house. Obviously, he said, behold, also the gallows 50 cubits high. Go ahead and read.
Which Haman had made for Mordecai. Who has spoken good for the king.
Go ahead.
Standeth in the house of Haman. Then the king said, hang him thereon.
Ooh, hang him thereon in his own house. But who saved the people?
Esther.
Esther did. Queen Esther did. She saved the people. And the guy that conspired to kill her, Mordecai, the people, he died on his own gallows. And I'm going to show you why in a minute. Verse 10, go ahead.
So they hanged Haman on the gallows that he had prepared for Mordecai. Then was the king's wrath pacified.
Now, let's go to Psalms the 7th chapter. Psalm 7. Go right on over to Psalms the 7th chapter. Because Mordecai got hung on his own gallows that he made for, Haman got hung on his own gallows which he made for Mordecai, didn't he? Psalm 7 and 15, Psalm 7 and 15. You better be careful to plot and stuff, plotting against people and stuff and digging ditches for people.
Right.
Better be careful of that. Verse 6, because look at what the Lord had David right here. Psalm 7 and 15. Go ahead and read it.
He made a pit and digged it.
Go ahead.
And is fallen into the ditch which he made.
Ooh.
Yeah.
See? So that's what happened to Haman, ain't it? He made a pit and digged it. And is fallen into the ditch which he made. So that pit, that ditch that you dig for somebody, the Lord might have that ditch dug for you.
Right.
Just like Haman, right? So be careful when you plot. But you see the Lord save the people through a woman, though. You see that? Let's go now. Let's go, because there's some great women in the Bible. We rarely hear of them, but you're going to hear some of them today. Let's go now. Let's go to Ruth, the 3rd chapter. Ruth, the 3rd chapter. Now, you know, we sometimes hear about Ruth, but did you know this about Ruth? We go into Ruth, the 3rd chapter, and we're going to pick it up at verse 7. Ruth 3 and 7. Ruth 3 and 7. Go ahead and read it.
And when Boaz had eaten and drank, and his heart was merry, he went to lie down at the end of the heap of corn. And she came softly and uncovered his feet, and laid her down. And it came to pass at midnight that the man was afraid, and turned himself, and behold, a woman lay at his feet. And he said, Who art thou? And she answered, I am Ruth.
Now the Ruth was a Moabite woman. Okay, she said, I am Ruth. She laid down at his feet. So now he's like, well, who are you? But she is a Moabite woman. Go ahead and read.
I am Ruth, thine handmaid. Spread therefore thy skirt over thy handmaid, for thou art a near kinsman.
So this is a near kinsman. Go ahead.
And he said, Blessed be thou of the Lord, my daughter, for thou hast showed more kindness in the latter end than at the beginning.
Go ahead.
Inasmuch as thou followest not young men,
go ahead,
whether poor or rich. And now, my daughter, fear not. I will do to thee all that thou requirest. For all the city of my people doeth know that thou art a virtuous woman.
Virtuous woman. Did y'all know this about Ruth? She was called, he said, Blessed be thou of the Lord, my daughter, for thou hast showed more kindness in the latter end than at the beginning. Inasmuch as thou followest me, not young men, whether poor or rich. So she wasn't following after men.
Right.
You understand? He said, now, my daughter, fear not, I will do to thee all that thou requirest. For all the city of my people doeth know that thou art a what? Virtuous woman. A virtuous woman. Let's go now. Let's go to Proverbs, the 31st chapter. Proverbs 31. And this is a good thing to be when it comes to a woman. Being a virtuous woman. Proverbs, this is a good trait to have.
Right.
Proverbs 31 and 10. Proverbs 31 and 10. You know, this is a good attribute to have, being a woman. A virtuous woman. Proverbs 31 and 10. Go ahead and read it.
Who can find a virtuous woman? For her price is far above rubies.
Go ahead.
The heart of her husband doeth safety trust in her, so that he shall have no need of spoil. She will do him good and not evil all the days of her life.
Woo! Every man looking for that kind of woman. Every man is looking for that kind of woman. We're gonna come right back here. We're gonna come right back here. We're gonna touch on marriage just a minute. Let's go, because we ain't really come here for that. But we're gonna touch on it just for a minute. 1 Corinthians 7 and 1. We're going to come right back to Proverbs 31. So hold your hand there. 1 Corinthians 7 and 1. Say she will do him good all the days of his life. Every man wants that kind of woman. 1 Corinthians 7 and 1. 1 Corinthians 7 and 1. Go ahead.
Now concerning the things whereof ye wrote unto me, it is good for a man not to touch a woman.
Now that's Paul saying that. That ain't the Lord didn't say that. Paul said that because the Lord said it is not good that man should be alone. I'm going to make him a helpmeet. You understand? So this Paul said, I want everybody to know that. This Paul telling them that. This his own thinking, not mine. You understand? And not most men. Go ahead and read, because Paul was a eunuch. But go ahead, verse 2.
Nevertheless, to avoid fornication, let every man have his own wife, and let every woman have her own husband.
Go ahead.
Let the husband render.
See, just like Ruth, she wasn't no loose woman, was she?
Right.
Then she wound up marrying Boaz, and then that's David's great grandmother. Ruth is. Now he said, nevertheless, to avoid fornication, let every man have his own wife, and let every woman have her own husband. Go ahead and read.
Let the husband render unto the wife due
benevolence.
And likewise also the wife unto the husband.
Both of them supposed to show each other respect.
Right.
Go ahead and read.
The wife hath not power of her own body, but the husband.
Go ahead.
And likewise also the husband hath not power of his own body, but the wife.
So when the wife said, look, come on, husband, we got to do the marriage thing, then you do the marriage thing. When the husband say, come on, wife, we got to do the marriage thing, then you do the marriage thing, right?
Right.
Because his body don't belong to him no more, and her body don't belong to her no more. Go ahead and read.
Defraud ye not one the other, except it be with consent for a time.
See, he said, because when you do this, you defraud each other. He said, except it be with consent for a time. See, she got to consent to it, and he got to consent to it, not to lay together.